I'd love to hear, we talked about, small steps to get going with technology use, but it's also, and some of these, your answer to this question may have some things that are seemingly small and simple, but what are some examples of inspirational, empowering technology use that you've either used in classrooms or you've seen in classrooms that really just blew you away? Some things that you thought, wow, this is an amazing use. It's really empowering the kids. They're inspired this way. I think one of the things that my answer to that would be about getting kids to, documenting student work on social media and to the world so that they have an authentic audience. That's something to me that having those global connections for kids really empowers them and gives them a, they just feel like their work is valued and they're valued as learners. So that's what I would say, but I'd love to hear from others about what has been an inspiring and empowering moment for you seeing technology used for students.
Kind of piggybacking off what you just said about giving an authentic audience. As tech coach, I'm in a lot of classrooms, and I will document the process of the kids when they're using technology, no matter whatever strategy that I'm trying to coach the teacher on, and I'll do a lot of over the shoulder pictures and tweet them out of the kids, whatever they're working on. And the kids know when the tech coach is in the room, he's going to be tweeting out pictures of our work, of the process. And I tell them, all right, today I'm going to make some of you Twitter famous. And in the middle of class, I go, oh yeah, so and so, your picture of what you were working on, yeah, some teacher from across the world just liked it. Then so they start, they have that look of joy on their face. Like, oh, people around the world are recognizing what I'm doing. I think it's just those little small wins go a long way into empowering kids. But one of my favorite experiences seeing technology empower kids was a lesson that I taught not too long ago, about a year ago, on World War II. We were discussing the Pacific Theater in World War II and how the Allies, their strategy they used against the Japanese. And so pretty much in a nutshell, for those who aren't history buffs, the strategy was nicknamed island hopping. So they had to demonstrate their knowledge of that. And I did not give kids, I wouldn't say give them a choice board, but I said, here, you tell me how, you need to demonstrate to me your understanding of it. So without giving them much of a directive, this one group of kids took sidewalk chalk and toys and their phone. And
okay,
it was just brilliant to see what they came up with on their own. And they came up, the only technology they used was their phone. Everything else was like physical manipulatives. And they started, reenacting some of the different battles across the Pacific Ocean. And they found on their own this AR app that simulates explosions and fires to kind of reenact some of the battles. And they came up with that on their own. It wasn't me saying, here, use this app and make this video this way. No, they came up with it on their own and really were able to show their learning. So for me, that was such an empowering moment for me to say, hey, you know what? I'm making a difference, and seeing how these kids really took the technology and ran with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone else, what's a great example that you have of an inspiring and empowering use of technology in the classroom?
I guess I'll pop in. I'm sorry, Michael.
No, you go.
Okay. I would say my last year in the classroom, I actually transitioned to my current position. And so that whole year, or that whole fraction of a year, was so super cool. I remember that we had block scheduling, so you would have like A-Day, B-Day classes. So the Friday of that class, the Friday of that week, as long as the class had 2 class meetings, we would do something called Figure It Out Fridays, where we would have all different kinds of things that we would just learn about together. So we experimented with drones, like flying drones, flying them around the classroom to school. This was before there was like all those regulations in DC that you can't fly a drone anywhere, so we had a great time. Let me see, we experimented with robotics. we were working with blogging. Let me see. There were some other things, 360 video. But the one thing that was like the coolest experience for me was that at the beginning of the year, the kids would all write about like one kind of tech that they wanted to learn more about. So about 60% of them wrote about the hoverboard, which was like huge at that time. This was like 2015, right? So the hoverboard was huge. They were all writing about the hoverboard. So I said, by the end of the school year, we're going to ride on the hoverboard. So so I transitioned out of the classroom right after Thanksgiving break, but the last 2 days before that, that Monday and Tuesday, then we actually got the hoverboard to the into the classroom, and the kids were riding it, and we just had different signups, and we were just kind of exploring it and talking about implications. So it was really cool. We had a good time, like learning things together. And I should say it was a technology design applications class. So we went through the design process with all of these different things that we were exploring. So it was a great experience.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Michael, how about you?
Yeah, one of the funnest things that I've done, and one of the first things I actually did kind of technology wise, was doing mystery calls. So calling another school somewhere in the world, and then just connecting with them. And I think kids, it was such an amazing moment for a lot of those kids that did it with me, because it's like, oh my goodness, is this child in Spain? Is this child in the US? So they were kind of blown away by that, and the door of like possibilities was just kind of opened. But another thing that I really like to do is kind of a lot of hands-on collaborative challenges that may or may not have like digital technology, but they have a lot of like physical things. And I find the kids get really engaged in that, and you start seeing ways of thinking when the question or problem is more open-ended, kind of like what Adam was saying, like he didn't give them what he wanted, he just gave them kind of a challenge. Show what you've learned from here. And I think that's kind of the companion to technology, is that we could give them a technological thing and say, okay, do this, and be very specific about it, or we could give them a kind of a bigger, wide problem, which is what we have in the real world. And so, I mean, that's where I've always seen, the kids just, their eyes light up. I could literally walk out of the room, and I have done so a couple times, and there would be no problems. They'd just be constantly kind of reinforcing each other and working together and making those connections.
Excellent. And Michael, we have a question: is do you use Skype? I know I had I used Skype with I had a teacher that used Skype because he already had an account. I use Google Hangouts as well. And then finding those, how do you find those teachers? I know I had used Twitter in the past, as well as there used to be, when Google Plus was bigger, there was there still is, but Connected Classrooms Workshop was a great one for that. But Michael, how have you done that? What platform, and how'd you find those other teachers?
Well, I specifically said calls and didn't want to say Hangouts or Skype, but I've done both.
Okay.
Don't want to pick a team. I think both are probably pretty good. It depends on what if you're a person who has both, often the person you're connecting with will probably have one that's better for them. As for actually finding people, generally it was Twitter or Facebook. Facebook's now becoming one of those really popular education things, at least down here in New Zealand, for making connections. So yeah, there's also, if you're part of ISTE, I've gone on the Global Connections PLN, or Global Collaboration, sorry, I think it is. And I put messages out there, and it's really easy to find people there.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Sandra, what are some great uses, inspiring and empowering uses of technology that you have seen?
I'm going to go back in time a little bit for me, because for me, that collaboration piece with colleagues has always been the most inspiring. When I started my career, I was in a school that was very innovative. We worked with researchers, we worked with different vendors to try out different things. It was a very inquiry-based learning environment. And when actually Google came out and we were able to collaborate documents and share ideas, it really changed how we functioned as a team, because not only were we able to collaborate at school, we were able to collaborate out of school. And that was really transforming for us. The other piece that I find that technology has really impacted and just wowed me is in the social services piece, or being able to support in things like the Sustainable Development Goals. And in our school currently, we have a group of teachers who have been working with an organization called Educating Girls for Rural China. And they've actually been using Zoom, like we are here. And it's actually a Canadian organization that seeks to educate people who are in the far reaches of the country here in China. And they use Zoom to teach English and to support them. And weekly, these teachers meet with a group of girls, and because these girls are all over different parts of this province, they meet regularly and they teach them not only about English, but because they're using technology as a platform, the girls also are able to learn technology in the meantime. And many of these girls have gone to university and then found really great jobs where they were originally in this place of poverty. So that's such a transformative, life transformative use of technology that I've seen. That's just amazing.
It's very inspiring. Perla, what are some inspiring, empowering things you've seen in the classroom?
Well, I think that some of the best practices is when my students can go and discover by themselves. I remember when I was teaching them how to use advanced search for Google, which is a simple tool that everybody should know, according with my subject area teachers, who usually mention that our students doesn't know how to find factual information. And then we were learning how to write down the best question and how to collect and analyze information. And one of my students said, I got it. What you are asking is to design a question that Google can't answer. And I said, yes. We are looking for you, we are pushing you to find out your own questions and the information to prove what is happening in that matter. And another important fact is when they can collect their own information, organize, and then compare with someone else from another point of view. Some of you have mentioned this global capacity. And when we are working in global projects and they realize that having a river in your land doesn't mean that you are the owner of the water, and making a proper usage of that resource could be life for your neighborhood by researching, by organizing that information, by listening to other people's issues. That's something that it is easier with technology. One of my students said during the last project, I didn't know that if we cut the water to create this electricity generator in Mexico, we will be affecting the people in the other side of the border until they talk to the children living in the other side of the border. Do you know what I mean? So using technology to communicate, to clarify, to take down our beliefs, because maybe we are listening only one side of the story. That's something powerful for me. That's really matter.
Absolutely. So I'm hearing a lot of, these are things that we were unable to do in, 10, 15 years ago, as far as connecting in platforms that are free with, globally, putting kids' work out there, having kids make a difference. And because of technology, I like what you said, Perla, about the kids are coming up with questions that are not answerable by Google, and they are actually making a difference.